Mabuhay, Kamusika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. The relative importance of family. Talking about Filipinas and their family. And I knew nothing about the Philippines or any traditions or cultures when I went out to marry my wife. All I knew was I needed a wife. I was 53 years old and I wasn't going to give up. I mean, for what? A life of singleness and misery and loneliness and lack of fulfillment and so on. I don't understand the desire to be single. I just couldn't find anybody. I didn't give up though, and I don't want you to give up finding a wife. And I went to the other side of the world, the Philippines. I didn't even know where it was or what it was like. Nothing. I just wanted to get married. I started communicating with a woman and laid my heart out what I was looking for. I was very transparent. Got engaged in 18 days, married in 54, and I'm so glad I married a Filipina. I've come to learn the importance of family there. Many often live together under the same roof, and that was my experience with my wife's family. I won't go into all the family members there, but there's a lot of people in a relatively small space compared to our place here. There's here, for example, we bought my mom's place. My wife liked the idea of living with my mother because she's a Filipina. She's used to having family around. And that's a good thing because it was just me and her. That could get lonely. And she would want my mom's sister, my aunt, here too, if she could. And we do have room for that, but that hasn't worked out. But this, my mom and my wife and I, we got all this space. In the Philippines, you may have 12 people living in a much smaller place. And, there's family is very close. We've kind of lost that, if we've ever had it, in this country, at least while I've been alive. Our family, myself, is very small. We have a couple family members that I can think of outside of my mother, and that's about it that we actually can see and spend time with. It's not like that in the Philippines, and that's a good thing. So it's normal that many would be living there in one roof. If you weren't familiar with that, it could be 10, 12, 14 different people. They take care of each other, helping each other out. One or two may go to school and the others work to help pay for their school, and then they switch places and they're helping in many ways, and that's a good thing. Now the oldest daughter is often the main wage earner, and she doesn't really get to keep money for herself, I wouldn't think, because with all those family members to help, it has to go there. She may keep a little for herself, but she's kind of in charge and responsible for everybody, which is why she makes a good marriage partner potential if she's proven that she can support her family in the Philippines. Then you've got somebody that you know is not lazy, is not selfish, and that is responsible, and that's who I happen to marry. Now, because of the importance of family in the Philippines, I thought it was best that I marry my wife in the Philippines so her whole family and extended family can be a part of the wedding, so she has a chance to say goodbye, and so that they have a chance to meet me and I have a chance to meet them. And even though I was only there for like maybe 28 days when I went to marry her, that gave us time to get to know her family members and for them to see that I really loved, this woman that I was going to be one day taking away from her, and that's a tough thing to do. But I wanted them to see that I was for real and I cared about her, and that was just, they could observe the things I said to her, the non-sexual touch, just how we interacted. I wanted them to know in that relatively short period of time that they could trust me and that I really loved their daughter. I think it's very important, if you possibly can, to get married in the Philippines. It also gives you a chance to see what it's like in the Philippines, and that's important because that's where she's lived probably her whole life, and so maybe not in that particular city, but that will help learn about her just by simply being in that environment. Also, it's appropriate to allow your wife to send money to the Philippines, and if she's not working or not working yet, it's very appropriate for you to help her send money back to the Philippines. It doesn't take a lot compared to here. I guess if I have to throw out a number, $200 a month. I know some people will be upset with that, but let's just throw it out. $200 a month. If you can send $200 a month back between you or you and your wife, that's good. Now, you don't want to enable anybody. You want her family still to work because the Bible said work is good, and he that does not work should not eat. So, we want to train, they should be trained to work and look for a job and to stick to it, but they will need some help too, and there's nothing wrong with meeting some of their needs on a regular basis. I like to do that. My wife does that as she has been. She can do it to a greater level now, but that does not mean she sends everything back, because she doesn't want them to be reliant on her, and that's just being smart and wise. But if you're stingy and say, no, don't do that, it's our money, it's my money, I worked for it, I'm not going to help them out, then you're not grasping the strong relevance of the family to her. And if you understand that and can send a reasonable amount back, or allow her to work and send whatever she wants back, then that's a very good thing for you. I would suggest that you want to get to know her family by name and ask how they're doing. I wrote her family's names down on a paper, and I memorized them before I talked to her, so I could quickly talk about certain members. Now it's easy, even though I may not have thought of their name for a while. I knew who they are because I've been there, I've met them, I've talked to them, I know a little bit about them, and it's great to be a part of their family, and I am. Now, my family here is my wife's family. She calls my mom, and any other relatives we had around town, they would be her family too. And the same thing with my friends. My friends are her friends, and my family is her family. Now, my wife's mother didn't exactly want her to leave, and you got to be sensitive to the fact that you are taking a daughter away. You're talking probably the main wage earner away, and so one thing you can do is just show any way you can to her family that you love her, and let her know and tell them that you're taking good care of her. You're meeting her needs. You're not treating her wrong. You let her help the family. Then she'll welcome you with open arms. The next time you see her. Her mother, last time, she thanked me, and maybe she was crying. She said, "Thank you so much for taking good care of my daughter." And so that's the way it should be. If I'm going to take her away from them, as important as the family is, and I love my wife, and I want her family to know that I love her too. Now, when we go to the Philippines here in about 8 weeks, I volunteered to take her family, an extended family, to Surigao Island, where her grandparents live. My wife hasn't seen them for a while, and so that'll be fun. I've heard there could be up to 20 people there in probably a jeepney that we'll take. And it might take 8 to 10 hours to be there. Wow. But it's going to help me get to know more of her family than I do now, and give them a chance to meet me and see how I interact with my wife. And they're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great time. I'm looking forward to it. This is a new experience for me. I'm going to see a beautiful island. Family's going to get to be kind of like a reunion of sorts, and we're all going to have fun, and it's going to be a great thing. So I find it very refreshing to marry somebody that is a part of a culture that is so family-oriented, and I think that's a good thing. One of the many reasons why I encourage you to seek a Filipina. So to me, it's a good thing that family is so important to my love beyond the sea.